So I just finished The Uncomfortable Truth. It's a documentary from 2017, which is by a guy named Loki Mulholland, and his mom was Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, a civil rights hero. They don't mention her much in this. It's more kind of goes through like 400 years of institutionalized racism. And I find some striking points. It starts back. It kind of goes a brief overview of, Black history in America. And one of the striking points that kind of stuck out to me was that it seems that there's always been this underlying current of racism that has basically just transformed through policy throughout the years. There was nothing has ever really been done to change the racism that it underlines, that the very foundation of this country. Like, our country was built on like stealing land from the Native Americans, murdering them, and all of the people that started the country were like owned slaves themselves. And even like Abraham Lincoln is talking about the inferiority of black people. And it's like, this is it. So you have slavery that goes away, and then Jim Crow comes along, and then Jim Crow gets dismantled, and then you have politicians that are using what's called the Southern strategy. This is like Nixon, Reagan era stuff, where you stoke racial tensions and the fear of colored people and immigrants, and guess what? What does that sound like? Well, who did that? Trump. It's like, and like he stoked these fires of racism, and that was his whole platform. And, look at where we are now. It's because you always have these people like stoking this stereotype and fear of another people, when in fact, like today in a modern era, it's like the poor white people and poor black people should be coming together to like focus on the real enemy, which is the rich elite. Like, this isn't... So much disinformation and fake news and shit has been flying around that when you say that, the elite, it's like tinfoil hats, and it's like, but that's like, it's just look at how America is set up. It is set up for the rich people on Wall Street who are predominantly white. They rule everything. And, here's another crazy part is that where we're at today and how things aren't equal is, think about, like, nobody really thinks about generational wealth. So think back in all of these like rich families that grew super rich from and were built from like slavery, and then handing that money down and through the generations. That shit was like, those people are wealthy because they started their accruing their wealth in slavery times. And the slaves like didn't have anything to pass on. So when they became free, then every fucking turn, they were like, through legislation, the government, even like fucking mobs of angry white people burning their shit down, like Tulsa, like Oklahoma. I never even heard of that until recently. Like, how did we not know this? Why weren't we taught that in fucking Tulsa, Oklahoma, like 300 black people were murdered because they decided, like, the whole fucking America was like saying like, fuck people of color. So they started their own society, and they were wealthy, and they were, and then fucking white people come in and burn that shit down too, taking that shit away from them. Like, at every turn, white people have been trying to take away shit from black people, because anytime they do, the black people, they can't take what's ours or something. It's like, it's this ingrained fucking mentality that has just made it through to today. And look at it, like, wealth grows through generations. And guess what? When you don't have wealth to grow, it doesn't grow. So the people that built their money off slavery, of course they're wealthy today, and then the remnants, and then now look, there's this huge wealth disparity, even between all races. But it's like, where did all that money come from? And or some communities didn't have the money to even generate in the first place. So then you have things like the GI Bill, which when people came back from World War II, that's when wealth disparities really started blossoming, is because like none of the loans or anything were like given to people of color. And then you had redlining, which are just like basically like locking off sections of neighborhoods that are saying, oh, there's too many colored people that live there, so they don't get money. And of course, you're going to start like crippling the economy of these people, and then layer on the war on drugs, which is a bullshit war in the first fucking place, where you got fucking criminals on Wall Street like stealing everybody's money, that doing insane amounts of cocaine. But then the black community, like crack starts to be a problem, but they're just focusing on like crack and associating it with black people, and so it's like all of these layers upon layers upon layers that like set the starting point for people of color so far behind people that are white. And it's undeniable that you cannot say that like just me being white, like I have been afforded more opportunities historically because it has been ingrained in this fucking society. Like, yeah, this needs to be acknowledged. Like, white people are inherently privileged because history was set up to make it that way. It is undeniable. Stop fucking saying it's not. It's a fucking fact. I'm not saying be ashamed of being white. I'm saying let's look at the economics and the fucking history that set us like so far ahead of people of color and stop denying it. Because like that's the only way it's going to get fixed, is because if we just all come out as like, yes, this is a fucking problem. So, yes, The Uncomfortable Truth. This is, I recommend it. It's a very interesting perspective of a guy that his family, a white guy that owns slaves, and his mom turned out to be a civil rights activist. So you get his perspective on it. He traces his family back and also runs through, the history of the black history in America. And so Uncomfortable Truth, it is available on Amazon Prime, and I highly recommend learning as much black history as you can, because then it will finally make sense to you why we are where we are at this point in history. I can't stress it enough. Please learn black history so you know what is happening in this country. Because it's undeniable what's happening. It's not confusing anymore. It just makes sense because you actually know. And throughout history, it has been tried to little things have been edited out to make this seem like so nice and so like just like with Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. Like this shit wasn't nice. But we've been told lies, and it's time to it's your responsibility to decode that lie and understand the world that you live in.